Hi friends, today we start lecture 74 in the helicopter dynamics class, and today I am going to discuss the Fourier coordinate transformation. I am Dr. Ranjan Ganguly. Now so far we have been considering flapping motion of the blade and we have looked at the rotating system. So this is the general case with all the equations we have looked at. Now if you are completely dealing with the blade and so on, then this is quite okay. But there are some problems where it is convenient to transform these blade equations into the fixed reference frame, for example whenever hub motion gets involved. So if we want to calculate the behavior of the helicopter due to a gust, for example, we would need to transform the blade equations into the fixed frame and then study the entire rotor as a whole system so that we can study the impact of the gust on the rotor. Similarly, if we are dealing with some problems such as body vibration, helicopter trim, flight stability, ground resonance, we like to convert the blade equations into the fixed system and then we can couple it with the hub motion equations and so on. So we'll see this specifically in the case of ground resonance in some later videos, but this is a situation which is important because if we want to look at the rotor body systems, we need to convert the blade equations into the fixed system, and that's where FCT comes in. So this Fourier coordinate transformation is often known as FCT because we don't want to spell out this entire word all the time. And essentially FCT converts blade motion from the rotating system to the fixed system. Now corresponding to this FCT, there is an inverse transformation which converts the hub motion from the fixed system to the rotating system. So we'll see that the FCT is a linear relationship of n degrees of freedom in the rotating system and n degrees of freedom in the fixed frame. So the number of degrees of freedom of course remains same, and again it's a linear relationship. That's something to keep in mind. So two things are going to be very important here to remember. One is that whenever we talk of the coordinates in the rotating coordinate system, we use the nomenclature beta subscript or superscript m. So essentially beta superscript m represents the flapping motion of the blade number m. So if there are, let us say, 4 blades, we'll have beta superscript 1, beta superscript 2, beta superscript 3, beta superscript 4. Now the transformed motion in the fixed system is defined as beta 0, beta nc, beta ns, and beta capital N by 2. And all these nomenclatures such as the n will become clear very soon. So the FCT is defined using these 4 equations. So this is the transformation. On the left hand side you have the degrees of freedom in the fixed frame. On the right hand side you have the degrees of freedom in the rotating frame, that is beta superscript m. And by multiplying it by cos or sine, we get the cos and the sine components here, and then the beta 0 components comes from this simple summation, and beta n by 2 comes from this summation with this negative 1 to the power m here. And this m is going from 1 to capital N, where capital N is the number of blades in the rotor. Now we also use psi m in those formulas, and psi m is the azimuth for the blade number m. So for example, psi m would be psi plus m delta psi, where delta psi is 2 pi by n and psi is omega into t. Remember, the circumference of the rotor is 2 pi, so we take 2 pi, we divide it by the number of blades, and that gives us delta psi. So these are all the locations of the blade round the rotor disc. N of course is the total number of blades. Now corresponding to this FCT, there is an inverse transformation. So if you want to go from the fixed frame to the rotating frame, you have beta 0, beta nc, beta ns, and beta n by 2. Then you can use this transformation to go to the rotating system. Now here this sigma n represents a summation from n is 1 to capital N minus 1 by 2 for n odd. So for example, if I had 3 blades, capital N would be 3, and so 3 minus 1 by 2 would be 1, and so N would simply be 1. Similarly, if I had an even number of blades, I use this expression here. Small n is 1 to n minus 2 by 2. So for example, if I had 4 blades here, I would get 4 minus 2 by 2, which is 1. So again, n would simply be 1. So these are the simple cases in this particular problem. Now to give you some concrete numbers, let's say if we have a 3-bladed rotor, we have capital N is 3, small n is 1. So in the rotating frame, I would have beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 as the 3 degrees of freedom. In the fixed frame, these would become beta 0, beta 1c, and beta 1s. Similarly, for a 4-bladed rotor in the rotating frame, I have beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, and in the fixed frame, I have beta 0, beta 1c, beta 1s, beta 2. So just to review the nomenclature, beta 0 is the coning angle, beta 1c is the longitudinal tilt of the tip path plane, beta 1s is the lateral tilt of the tip path plane, and beta 2 is the differential collective mode. Now this beta 2, as we saw in the definition, is only present when the number of blades is even. So let's look at an example of the differential collective. So essentially what happens here is that two blades go up and two blades go down. So pictorially you can think of this as the differential collective mode. Now the remaining modes we are familiar with, for example beta 0, beta 1c, beta 1s, we have looked at those long time before. Now many people confuse the Fourier series and the Fourier coordinate transformation. Now FCT is different from Fourier series. For example, FCT is reversible, we can go both back and forth. Then coefficients of FCT are functions of time, and this is a major difference. So though we use similar nomenclature like beta 0, beta 1c, beta 1s, and so on, as when we expanded beta as a Fourier series, these are different. These coefficients are actually functions of time, and the reason we use beta is largely from historical reasons, so you need to keep the differences here in mind. Also, we saw that FCT is finite because it's a one-to-one transformation between the rotating system and the fixed system. So you naturally have a fixed number of blades, so you have a fixed number of betas in the rotating system, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, beta 5, and so on. So correspondingly you would have the same number of coordinates in the fixed system. Fourier series we have seen is infinite, it goes on and on, it's not reversible, and also the Fourier coefficients in a typical Fourier series are constants with respect to time. The time is typically present in the sinusoidal and cosine components. So let's now derive some equations involving the FCT for typical values of velocity and acceleration. So we know beta m can be written like this. Again, recall beta m is in the rotating frame and the right hand side represents the coordinates in the fixed frame. So let's differentiate this equation. So what happens is that the left hand side just gets differentiated. You get star here, here you get beta 0 star. That's easy. Then in each of these cases we have to differentiate this. So beta nc star term will be there, beta nc star cos n psi m. The next term would be beta nc and then negative n sine n psi m. That's this term here. Beta nc negative n sine n psi m. Okay, remember that all these betas in the fixed system and in the rotating system for FCT can all be differentiated, their functions of time. Similarly, we take the second term here, we will get one term involving beta ns star sine n psi m, and another term would become beta ns into n cos n psi m. Okay, differentiating this equation here. And then the one more term here will simply become beta star n by 2. We follow this process, we take one more derivative here and you get this term out. Now this is the acceleration, and clearly you can see here now the presence of Coriolis terms, for example the 2n terms and so on, and also the centrifugal terms, for example the n squared term. So the transformation of velocity and acceleration from the rotating frame to the fixed frame introduces these Coriolis and centrifugal force terms. So how do you do conversion of the equations from rotating system to fixed system? So essentially to convert these we use the equation of motion in rotating frame and then we take these equations here and set them equal to 0. So for example we take 1 by n, m is 1 to n, we write the equation of motion here, we put equal to 0. Similarly 2 by n, m is 1 to n, equation of motion into cos n psi m equal to 0. One more is there, equation of motion into sine n psi m equal to 0. And finally equation of motion into negative 1 to the power m equal to 0. So these will give you the equations of motion corresponding to the fixed frame. So if I take this equation for example, which is for the FCT linking the rotating and the fixed system, and then I can get some of these important expressions for FCT. So one is that 1 by n sigma beta star m will give us beta 0 star. Similarly, this equation here, beta star m into cos and psi m gives us this value here. Okay, so on the left hand side we are having the rotating system values, on the right hand side we are having the fixed system values. So this is how you essentially operate on the equation. So typically you have the equation of motion in the rotating frame, you multiply it by these cos signs and all and you get these expressions here. Similarly, these equations will give you in terms of the beta star m, negative 1 to the power m is beta star n by 2. One more equation here. So these are pretty straightforward. The complexity comes whenever you have this multiplication by the cosine or the sine. That's when you get these terms involving the 2n and the n square, which are essentially the Coriolis and the acceleration terms. So these will give you a set of equations or a set of relations which you can use to work with most equations of motion which are present in the rotating frame and how to convert them to the fixed frame. Now we will illustrate all this with the ground resonance problem where we are going to look at the lag motion. So when we look at the lag motion, we are going to convert the lag motion equations into the fixed system and then we are going to couple those fixed system equations with the equation of the hub motion. And the coupled lag and hub motion equation are going to lead us to the ground resonance because ground resonance essentially happens because of the coupling of the lag motion with the hub motion. So that's something to keep in mind. Now Fourier coordinate transformation is extremely difficult. I remember it's hard to understand, especially there is some complexity in the notation. So it takes some time to understand that this is not the Fourier series, this is something different and you need to keep that in mind whenever you are using Fourier coordinate transformation. So that's the main thing, and it's very important in rotor dynamics because conversion of these equations to the fixed system is often required. So I will stop this lecture 74 here and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.